Welcome to the Florence Foodies podcast, a place for the community to gather and share the stories, voices, and experiences that make Florence feel like home. To support this podcast and the Florence Foodies platform as a whole, click the Support This Podcast link found in the description.
A lot of scrambling this morning, but good morning. How are you doing?
I'm so good. Thank you.
Glad that you're here.
Me too. Thank you. So glad to be here.
The SC Real Foods video was the second showcase that we did. So the Miles Chopped Cheese video,
Right?
shout out to Miles, was the second one.
Shout out to Miles.
Yeah, was the second showcase video that
Yes.
we did. And the response on that was great. And from what I understand, y'all had a good response from it. And that's what really really kind of was a big one to get the ball rolling, that, you know, this is something that we enjoy doing, have a good time doing, but also something that's actually productive and beneficial. So thank you for letting us do that.
I appreciate the
what I'm
opportunity.
saying.
Yes.
Yeah. So why don't you, for anybody that may not know any background, you're Valerie. Why don't you introduce yourself and I don't know, were you born in Florence? What's your relationship to the city of Florence and
I'm
that kind of
Valerie
thing?
Criswell. I am the president and owner of SC Real Foods, along with my husband, who does a great work on the back end, I might say, for us. We have a great staff, and I'm so appreciative for them. We have been in business at SC Real Foods for 14 years, if you can believe that. We started inside PD Christian bookstore, and we jumped out a handful of years ago from that. I am not a Florence native. I was born in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and my parents moved me here when I was 8. So I have the advantage of being raised in a Yankee home. My parents are from Pennsylvania and Michigan, and so the way that we ate was influenced by that. But I think I came here at a young enough age to be influenced by Southern food too. So I kind of bring a good mix to my food taste and the things that I enjoy preparing too.
So you've been here since you were 8?
Yes.
Then you're a Southerner.
Okay. All right.
I mean, at that point, you're probably a Southerner, so
Okay.
that's all right.
I accept it.
My mother's
Thank
from Florida, so and then I mentioned in this, it was actually the last episode of this podcast, I mentioned that my dad's side of the family, or going up through my grandmother's side, at least from Coward, so I'm homegrown, but I do have some Florida influence also and background.
Nice.
So cheers to Florida.
Nothing like Florida. There's really nothing like it.
So I didn't know that. I didn't know that you said PD Christian Bookstore. Oh, that was, I did know that. Wow, I just had a revelation moment. That was over behind Sakura's Japanese restaurant.
That's right.
And I remember that now, because I would usually go to, I'm a West Florence guy just because for whatever reason, I've always lived on the west side of town, live on the west side of town now. And I would go to Lifeway before they closed down if I needed reading material. I was looking for a book or a Bible or something like that. So I didn't really go to the bookstore over there on Ellerbe frequently anyways. And I actually remember going in. Now, I'm just having a moment. You just got to work with me here for a second. But I remember going in now, and there was actually a restaurant in. So that was you guys.
Yes. So we
I did not know
incubated
that.
and so we owned and operated PD Christian Book and Supply also. And so
Didn't know
SC
that
Real
either.
Foods just sort of organically incubated inside of that business. And the Lord grew that up. And when it was time to close the bookstore, we needed to make the decision to, do we go with this food thing, or are we just done and moving to the next thing? And the Lord clearly opened the doors for us to move forward with the food. And that's been a great thing.
That's fascinating. I didn't know any of that. Mm-hmm. Well, that connects more to dots. So that's pretty cool. And then so now, and how long is it now that SC Real Foods has been open?
Well, I mean,
in its location where it's
in
at.
its location, I think it's 5 or 6 years.
That's it?
Yeah, I would need Stephen here by my side
got
to
you.
tell me what year was that, because I'm not a numbers person, but it's been at least 5 years.
Okay. Seems like it's been longer than
We've
that.
been
Okay.
there in that
Yeah, 'cause
location.
all right. So been in South Carolina since 8, and the PD bookstore, and then the restaurant. It was called SC Real Foods whenever we were in PD Christian?
Yes.
Okay, so SC Real Foods 14 years old, and now we'll call it 5 years at the current location. And I would imagine, I mean, it looks like from at least what I can see that SC Real Foods has really just continually been gaining steam over these 5 years since you've been there. I'm excited about that because that, and I've talked about this in different, we did a Baja Joe's video and I mentioned this, but I'm a West Florence guy. And so I live on this side of town and the 5 Points area, David H. McLeod area, Ellerbe Street has been where everything's at, specifically in terms of restaurants. And obviously when you're the Florence Foodies founder guide, that's what you're most concerned about more than shopping retail. But they both kind of go hand in hand. But that's where all of that stuff has been at historically. And so when you start to come down South Cashua, historically in Florence, there just wasn't as much good residential areas, but not a lot of nearby opportunities. And so now we've had some change in that. So Chibo's and then El Bungo Style. Now we got Baja Joe's. Obviously, you've got the McDonald's and Bojangles, and that's part of the whole equation. But SC Real Foods is kind of a big piece of that puzzle. And I'm excited, and I mentioned that in that Baja Joe's video, because I think that we can be encouraged that, and Salsa y Limon is a go-to of ours, but that restaurants can sustain in this part of town where a lot of us live. And that's great for us because
absolutely
SC Real Foods is literally right around the corner for us. And so it's a convenience thing. So we're really excited that we're getting restaurants that are sustaining specifically in our neck of the woods when it comes to Florence. And y'all are a big part of that.
We love to be the anchor store right there that people can just zip in and zip out.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. So that's cool. Well, I connected some dots that I didn't realize. So interestingly, on the last episode of the podcast, we had Jamel Lyde from Greenleaf Cafe in McLeod Health Fitness in a newer restaurant. It's been open for about a year, he said. And we started to talk about some health things. SC Real Foods is kind of in that same type of vein in where we're offering quality cuisine, but with a health conscious initiative behind it or foundation to it. So I want to know, we would like to know, what makes you tick? What is it that goes through your mind when you think about that?
Right. So I appreciate you using the word foundation, because any decisions that we make about food that we're going to provide in the store really are founded on something other than what will people buy or what do people want. It's really more about how can we serve our community real food. And so I think the fundamental question is, what do you mean by real food?
Literally what I was thinking.
Okay.
No, I was going to ask that because I mean, and I know what that means to me, but I would say a lot of people might not. What do you mean real food? Isn't everything that you eat real food? Yeah.
So let me just start big picture and come in and answer your question then. Big picture, I think a lot of people, we participate with food multiple times a day, right? How much thought do we give to what we're eating? Usually we just ask ourselves, what do I want to eat? But we don't go really beyond what is it that I'm putting into my body. And I think if we can kind of zoom out some and think about what is the purpose of food, right? So yes, God made food to taste good. Some of it doesn't taste great. We all like different food. And so there's variety for everyone. And that is a component of it. But ultimately, God probably made food to taste good so that we would participate with it and eat it so that it would nourish our body and keep us going and make us strong, because that is the purpose of food. It does taste good and we do enjoy eating it, and we have options within the purpose, but it is to nourish our body and keep us going, because without food, we don't sustain. Our life doesn't sustain, right? So then the question becomes, if we acknowledge the purpose of food, ultimately, then we need to ask ourselves, what does God mean by food? Right? And we can find ourselves so many years later after creation and God saying, here's some food to eat this and eat that. And we can find ourselves so many years later eating flaming hot Cheetos, right? And so, I mean, I don't really need to give you a very fine definition for you to understand that there were not any taquitos on a tree in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Right? And there was not Pepsi-Cola flowing down the river.
Yeah.
So
would have needed to be Coca-Cola anyways. If it was going to be one of the two. Pepsi would have been a mistake.
I mean, do you want to go there with the folks? So, the best food that we can eat is as close to the way God created it.
Agreed 100%. Yeah, whole foods.
Right.
Real food.
So it doesn't mean that we cannot participate in some convenience products. It doesn't mean that you have to make everything from scratch. But the more single ingredients that we can put into our body, the more that we can prepare our food ourselves at home from scratch, the more that we can search for restaurants that participate with putting food together for you from scratch rather than just opening a bag of some processed thing and pouring it into a deep fryer, taking it out, putting some more salt on it with some seasonings that have a bunch of chemicals in it and saying, here, see how well this goes with you, right?
Yeah. So how much would you say that you know about, or just what's your opinion on food products, even convenience products? So like I saw an image, and I don't know how accurate it was. I didn't go back and look at this because it didn't seem right to me, but it was a Gatorade bottle from, I guess, the 80s. It was the old glass bottles, and I'm old enough to remember when they were in glass bottles. And it was a lemon lime Gatorade, and then it was a modern lemon lime Gatorade, and it was the ingredients list. And the old one was like water, sugar, salt, and lemon juice or something like that. That was it.
Right.
And that didn't seem right to me. I was like, seems like there was more in there than that. But nonetheless, and then the modern one was this whole list of things that we can't even pronounce.
Right.
And so regardless of how accurate that image was that was on the internet or not, there's definitely, it seems, a lot of difference in the products that I remember growing up on in the 90s as opposed to stuff we get now, even at the fast food restaurants. So even the places that wouldn't have been healthy even then it seems like possibly even worse now.
So you're exactly right. Even like a McDonald's cheeseburger from 1950, when they first started really becoming popular, is not the same. The fast food is not the same. They're finding ways to put more and more chemicals and more ways to pervert our food. And you just really have to ask yourself, why? And do we want to participate with that? And it is sad. It really is sad, because if you want to eat real food and take your food back to the simplicity so that it is most nourishing for you, it requires some commitment.
Let's just go with the assumption that there may be people in the audience that still don't maybe understand exactly what's being said when we say real food. So let me just give you a couple of things,
Sure,
just from my education level, whatever that may be or not be, that could be helpful. So for one, the basic thing is you've got processed food versus a whole food. So if an orange grows on a tree, then that's a natural whole food. It's not. It's a seed. It grows, it fruits, and there's the orange. If you have a chicken and you kill the chicken and you defeather the chicken and you section it and you cut off the quarters and the breast and all of that stuff, that's chicken. Mm-hmm. But if you have a bag of Flamin' Hot Cheetos, then you have all kinds of chemical additives and preservatives and food products that are, you have food. There may be whole foods mixed in there. So there may be corn in the Flamin' Hot Cheeto, but there's also all of these other things that serve as flavors and preservatives for the Flamin' Hot Cheetos product. Very different from a whole food. A Flamin' Hot Cheeto doesn't grow on a tree, to your point. But then there's another level also. So with the chicken, or even with the orange, but let's just go with the chicken, You say, okay, well, if I just eat the chicken, then I'm better off than the Flamin' Hot Cheeto. Yes, that level 1, but then there's level 2. How is the chicken raised and sourced? So you have free-range chickens, you have pasture-raised chickens, you have fully commercial chicken in these big farms that they're just shoulder to shoulder standing there, and they're injected with steroids, hormones, antibiotics to keep them alive and healthy and to grow as quickly as possible so they can mass produce them. So what type of synthetic elements have been given to the chicken? What's the chicken's diet?
Oh my gosh, it's so much to think about.
So there's levels to it. And real quick, I'll say if anybody's interested in any of this, I was introduced to a documentary called Food Inc. back in I don't know, maybe 2011, 12-ish, somewhere in there. If you've never seen Food Inc., you could probably find it on Netflix. If not, you can find it on the internet. If not, you can rent it for probably $3 off YouTube. Go watch Food Inc. And if you've never seen it, and everything that I'm talking about right now that me and Valerie are talking about sounds foreign to you, if you watch Food Inc., then it'll probably do for you what it did for me. It will be extremely eye-opening and concerning. So just as an example, real quick, some of these chickens, they hit them with steroids to grow them so quick that the legs can't keep up with the growth of the muscle and the body mass of the chicken.
And they can't even walk.
So they just collapse and they sit there in their own feces and stuff. And that goes on throughout the course of their life until they're of the right size. And then they kill the chicken, they butcher and process it, they package it, and they send it to your local grocery store. And then you make chicken parmesan at the house with it. And that may be fine. I'm not here to say what you can and cannot eat. I'm just telling you that a lot of times we don't know the background to a lot of this stuff. So if you watch Food Inc., it'll be very eye-opening. I'll just say that. Have you seen Food Inc?
Yes. Yeah. Back in the day.
Changed my life. Like I saw that documentary and radically changed it was like coming out of the Matrix is what it was like.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really was. So anyways, I'm off my soapbox. Just go ahead. You can just, what do you...
I think...
what's on your heart and mind when it comes to this stuff?
I really appreciate where we are right now in the real food movement because it's been a long time coming. There are a lot of... there's a lot of crunchy moms on TikTok right now. And there's a lot of sourdough bread being made, and there's lots of sharing recipes and a lot of movement toward getting back onto the homestead and creating our own food again and finding ways to just take it back to the simple. And I appreciate that so much. I also appreciate the restaurants that are saying we want to provide something different, and they're taking that back a step also. There are lots of scratch kitchens available more and more in our area. That's exciting. And I think I would like to attribute a majority of that all to just a coming of age of conspiracy theories. Do you like a good conspiracy theory?
Absolutely.
Okay. So
are they just theories though?
10 years ago, 15 years ago, it would have been ludicrous for us to say, I believe that the government, the pharmaceutical industry, big agriculture, and these entities are colluding against us for their own benefit. What kind of statement is that? I think now we can see through the different health items that have been dropped on us. I don't know if you remember back in the early 90s, it was low fat.
Yeah.
And then there was one that said eggs are bad for you.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're all about the cholesterol. And let me just say about an egg, if you asked me the question, hey, pick one food that if you were on a desert island, you can only have one food to sustain your life, what would you choose? I would make it an egg.
Good option.
But here they are saying that we need to limit our eggs. There's avoid the sun. And now we know, I know that we should use sunscreen. I got that. But we also know that getting sun exposure helps our circadian rhythm, and it helps us sleep better at night. There's so many benefits of getting the vitamin D and things like that, of just being in the sun and having it go into your body and your eyes for 15, 20 minutes a day, right? Avoid red meat. Do you remember that one? Yeah. Right? So we're kind of still on that. If you have heart disease and you go to your doctor, he's going to say avoid red meat instead of saying eat grass-fed beef, which has never been shown to contribute to heart disease. Another one is limiting salt, right? When we
talked about that on the last episode.
When we really should not be saying limit salt, we should be saying limit processed food that contain chemicals that contain high sodium levels that affect your health. Because when you eat real food, you can salt to taste with good high quality salt.
Correct.
And it provides great electrolytes and all the minerals that you need. And if you're eating food without all those chemicals in them, you literally can salt to taste. Your body tells you how much salt you need.
If I'm correct, sodium chloride is key in the production of stomach acid. So salt is...
It's a good thing. Salt is an electrolyte itself, and electrolytes help to your body processes. You
need stomach acid, and so then this goes back to even something as simple as heartburn. There's a lot to be said. And I mentioned in the last episode, and I want to take this as an opportunity to clear something up that I said real quick before I forget. In that conversation, I also mentioned that Crisco was initially patented in around the 50s, and I didn't give an exact date, as lubrication for military machinery. So it was military machinery lubrication oil. And that didn't turn out to be cost effective. So Procter & Gamble realized this can be marketed as a food product and it would be a lot more profitable that way. So they marketed it as a healthy alternative to lard and cooking fats. And that was partially correct. So I fact checked myself on that, and I had that story wrong. So that is a very popular myth, what I said. A lot of people say that. The actual story is a little bit different. It was the earlier 1900s than the 1950s, and the patent, the recipe for Crisco as we know it, or would come to know it a little bit later, it was initially tested for industrial purposes, but it was actually as a soap, as a cleaner. And it was also viewed with potential as a food item because of the ingredients list. It could legally be a food item. So take with that what you will. What I would recommend is that when I hear that, I say, okay, well, that's only slightly better. It's still like it could be soap, or you could cook your potatoes in it. That's still not really great. I guess you could say that's better than military machinery oil. But there you have it. I just wanted to clarify that. That story was a little bit wrong. Now you have a more accurate story. Again, you can go look that up, but that's what you're going to find.
Sammie, I think that's a great segue into talking about seed oils, which is another thing that the food government, quasi people, agriculture, they sold us seed oils in the form of canola, Crisco, vegetable oil, and those things. And they said these products are going to be more healthy for you than beef tallow, lard, butter, olive oil, the traditional fats. You're going to want to eat these instead. But we're finding out now, which is kind of wraps up the whole thing that I opened about the conspiracy that has come of age now, that we can't deny anymore, is that the seed oils are actually against us, and they do cause heart disease. They do cause inflammation. They do disrupt our hormones and a host of other things. And so why is the government telling us all of these? I'm going to say the government as, that conglomerate entity, if you don't mind me just kind of referring to it that way. How about we just say the man? The man is telling us these things, and every single one of them has been vetted out to be not true and actually counter to what we should be doing. And that's that is really the thrust of the real food movement is, stop. Just stop the insanity. Just stop this. Stop this. I mean, I know we all love to eat an Oreo cookie, but can we just make one from scratch with just flour and butter, please? And if you need some chocolate, put some chocolate in it.
Shelf life's too short.
And that really is another crux of that is that they have appealed to us in our laziness and our weakness,
right?
Haven't they?
It's business, but and that's kind of the purpose of this conversation is make whatever choices you want to make. I mean, I've made some questionable choices right on the YouTube channel, with things that I may eat at times, but at least make educated decisions. At least know what you're eating and understand that I know exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Sure, and and let me just write a check to give everybody a release, okay? Because I will eat an Oreo cookie. It's not like it's dead poison to me. It's really more about a lifestyle, and it's about making conscious decisions and choices because we have to function in this world right now. And to be honest, back in 2011, when we first started SC Real Foods, I was in my own journey with real food and trying to put away some things and pick up some things. And I actually became a crazy person. I became a crazy person that tried to make a Pop-Tart from scratch. And you take like 3 hours and you make this beautiful thing, and then you hand it to your children and they literally demolish it in 30 seconds and they didn't even taste it. So we have to function and we have to find some sustainability and we have to do what makes sense. So you won't ever see me making a Pop-Tart from scratch again. It doesn't mean that I have to buy them from the box either. I just need to change my expectation of how I'm going to participate with food.
I'm with you. So like I said, I made some radical changes on multiple levels, learned a lot of things, and a lot of things I subscribe to, not because somebody told me these things and they made it sound really good, which that was part of it. I mean, it sounded legit, but it's just like I said to Jamel on the last episode, eventually we all have to make a decision. And so you could educate me on things and then somebody else could come in and counter what you're saying and could sound equally compelling and have data to show and all of that. They do it all the time. I mean, we've got two sides of the aisle in our government, as an example of this idea. So at some point, I'm either going to be led by you, or I'm going to take what you're saying, I'm going to listen to you. There's a famous saying that somebody that I really respected passed away a couple years ago said, and he said, I'm open to anything, but I'm skeptical about everything. And so I'm going to listen. And then at some point, I'm going to hit that crossroads where I'm going to have to make my own decision. I got to gather as much data as I can. That's what a lot of people won't do. And so for me, what I did was, when I got exposed to Dr. Wallach, when I got exposed to these other veins of thinking, when I got exposed to Food Inc., I took all that data in and then I started observing things. I looked at members of my family. I have family members that, and all of these things for me have continued to be proven correct. Not conspiracy theory, but conspiratorial fact, apparently. From what I can observe with my eyes, I have to rely on that at some point, I believe. And I trust the discernment and wisdom God gave me to do that. And I have family members that went the margin route. I remember the country crock tubs in the fridge. And I had family members that went the butter and lard route.
Stop. Can I just say, country crock does not taste.
It's a crock.
It does not taste good either. It doesn't taste good.
No, it doesn't. Margarine is the same thing. We were talking about it earlier. Margarine's horrible.
If you grew up on country crock, try some butter. It tastes so much better.
Right.
Okay.
But I watched how it played out. And so some of these things were sold to us. They were sold as health items. I can't believe it's not butter. It's a healthy alternative.
Right.
Well, if you really go back and look at and like I said, you're going to have two different people that are going to give you two different reasons for what I'm about to say. But you've got to make your own decision, and bless you no matter what you decide is what I would say.
We're going to look at their motivation, first of all.
But if you go back and look at right, well, that's part of that should be part of your data collection.
Yes.
Who's this coming from, and what are their interests? Where's the money going? But what I would just say is the increase of cognitive disease, specifically like dementia and Alzheimer's, that kind of thing, in relation over the last, call it 4 decades, into the increase in the production and distribution of statin drugs, which is directly related to cholesterol, the whole cholesterol conversation and all these food products that are supposed to be beneficial for the cholesterol problem. There's definitely some sort of correlation. Now, correlation does not equal causation necessarily.
Right.
Do it at what you will, but there it is. So, and I, like I said, I've had to watch these things in my family, and I've seen some of these things play out.
Sure. But let me just stop you right there and just say, because I have an opinion. And so I'm on one of those sides.
Share it.
Okay. It makes the most sense to me if we just stop and say, what makes the most sense? Where's the health in the food? What makes the most sense? And real food just makes sense because that is the original format, right? And so anything that we've done to our food from there forward has just been a continual perversion. And, you know, when you change it, it's going to just decrease. We're not making food better than God did originally. We're just making it more convenient, or we're acquiescing to someone else's agenda.
And, you know, agenda is another key word, because going back to following the money, I don't remember the year on this. This could have been 2017-ish. It's been a while. But, I would just say it this way. Instead of putting numbers on it and then me saying something wrong and I got to come back and clean up on the next episode, go look at Pfizer's revenue for last year. I mean, you should be able to go to ChatGPT, Grok, Google, any of these places and find it. Just go look at their revenue. I'm not out to villainize anybody. You know, Pfizer makes products that they make some products that could be very beneficial to people and very helpful if you need them. I'm not villainizing them to any degree in saying what I'm saying. I just always want to encourage people to think. That's like in the makeup of how I think and how I am. That's been helpful for me. And I don't want us to just listen to our favorite news station and make our entire life decisions based on that, or our favorite personalities in media or whatever the case may be, actors, sports players. I want us to think. But we're talking about our health and our life when we talk about this subject. And I would just say it's good to know that stuff. How much money do these companies, how much money does Monsanto make? Who are they? Who do they have partnerships with? What could be the relativeness?
Who is funding these studies?
Yeah.
The studies that say this or that is good for you, this or that is bad for you.
Another good point. Yep.
Where's that money coming from to pay for that information?
And so, I mean, I was too at one point in time very dogmatic about. So I was gluten free for like 8 years. And for majority of that 8 years, I was like a staunch gluten-freeist, for real, right? Believe it or not.
And for what reason? Because you were struggling?
No, I didn't have any issue at all because of to protect the villi in the lining of my intestines from destruction, so that I could absorb minerals.
Did you
more
experience
efficiently.
Healing from that lifestyle?
So again, I have to go with my own. I'll collect all the data. I'll test things that I think are worthy of testing. And then I have to rely on my thought process. And what really sold me on that, to be completely transparent about it and let you into my mind and life a little bit, was I was taking, and still do for the record, a pretty high-end regimen of supplements.
Yeah.
And spending a good bit of money on supplementation, particularly minerals, but minerals, vitamins, EFAs, essential fatty acids, omega 3, 6, and 9, and all of that good stuff, and antioxidants. And when you take all of that stuff, so test for y'all out there, if you wanted to, go to GNC, just get something off the shelf. You could go to Walmart, I guess, but just get a packed multivitamin, get something that's really power packed, and just to test this theory. That's not what I'm recommending you take. That's not the stuff I take, but it would be a cheaper way to test this. And what's going to happen is your urine is going to be bright yellow. It's going to be almost neon, because you're taking all of this vitamin or mineral content, and then whenever you urinate, a lot of it's going to come out and it's going to be bright yellow. But what happened with me was I was taking this stuff and that was my norm. So I would go to the bathroom, kind of a gross conversation. Hope you're not listening to this episode of the podcast while you're eating. And you know, it's bright yellow. It's like neon. I mean, it looks like it would glow in the dark or something you could paint like cool graphics with, very neon. And I was just accustomed to that. And then I really started to get disciplined in the gluten-free thing, which I'm not anymore. And that's just not because I abandoned this way of thinking. I just chose to just not be for a season, at least. But I noticed that we learned this in science in like middle school. You have controlled variables, you know, you have your variables.
Yeah.
And my control, where I was still taking the same amount of supplements, did not change. I'm still taking the same amount daily that I was taking.
Right.
But what I changed is my diet. And as I got gluten-free and got some time under my belt doing that and was really doing a good job about it. I mean, I was pretty much as gluten-free as it could be. I mean, I'm reading ingredients. And so if there's like a maltodextrin or something, maybe not maltodextrin, but if there's something on the ingredients list that doesn't say wheat, but it would still actually be a glutinous product, then I wouldn't eat. I mean, I was very disciplined in it. And I noticed that my urine started becoming almost as if I was only drinking water all the time. So I could actually see, it's like, it's just at a point, a lot of stuff becomes common sense. I don't need Dr. So-and-so on the internet and politician so-and-so to tell me.
So you felt like the vitamins that
I'm absorbing more of this stuff. I could look at it and tell.
And did that play out in your health?
I was already feeling great because and another thing that I learned, so I lost 50 pounds in like 2011 of weight. And that was through a low carb, high protein diet and a lot of plyo and cardio. And then the nutrition thing came right after that. What I tell people is you don't realize that you felt bad until you feel great, because you get accustomed to feeling how you feel. You don't know. So when I was taking all this stuff, when I first got introduced to the 90 essential nutrients and I'm taking these high-end nutritional products, I felt fantastic anyway. So could I sit here and honestly tell you there was a degree of difference I noticed by the time the gluten-free part came in? No, because I already felt good. But what I can tell you is I could look at that and I could tell that I was absorbing more of the products. I would just say, if nothing else, I was getting more for my money. I was losing a lot of my money until I started taking care of the lining of my intestines, which is where you absorb your nutrients.
I would say, too, if you're absorbing more of the supplements that you're taking, you're also getting more nutrition from the food that you're eating.
100%.
Right. So,
yeah.
Win-win.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's so much that could be said, you know, how much nutrition is in food. So we run a garden here on these grounds where we're at now. And, you know, gardening is something that we're trying, at least in my household, trying to learn more about. And because there's a lot of skill to it. I've learned over the last 3 years of trying to run 2 different gardens that I'm not very good at it. Didn't know that. So I'm learning it's a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But we've been learning a lot about regenerative gardening and gardening practices, agriculture practices, and putting back into the soil. So when you plant, here's another educational piece. When you plant a tomato in a place on the soil and you grow it through a growing season and you take all those tomatoes and you eat them, they've extracted a lot of that mineral content out of that soil where you planted it. And minerals are not distributed evenly in soil. They're spread out all over the place. So if you don't do anything to amend that soil and you come back and you plant a tomato next year, by default, it's going to have less mineral content than the year before.
Yeah.
If we're commercially mass producing all of these fruits and vegetables and the practices of agriculture, which you alluded to earlier, that we use, it only stands to reason, again, that there's at least reason to be concerned and it's worth investigation. Well, how are you ensuring the mineral content of those products? You know, whether it's an orange or tomato, cucumber, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I can certainly contribute to that. And this is kind of an interesting thing too, with the cattle that we raise on our farm, and that the beef that we sell in our store at SC Real Foods, we actually do amend the soil, which grows the grass that the cows eat. They also we have mineral licks for them that adds to their health. But it also, I mean, the minerals have to come from somewhere, right? Because what we understand about minerals is they're elemental and they're not manufactured. So they just travel around.
Right. But like vitamins would be the opposite. Vitamins are...
Some of them are put together by a different.
Yeah.
I'm just not a scientist.
Well, no, but they're
not synthesized by natural processes through our body or through the ground or through the sky and the air and all of that. I'm really not a scientist.
Was just saying that you can get vitamins out of a plant but minerals have to be in the soil. They have to be there.
Whether it comes, and so we actually want to make our beef more nutritious for us and have a higher concentration of vitamins by putting it in the ground first.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun. But then what you were talking about with your garden too, you absolutely, I mean, we kind of consider fertilizer, right, as, we want to have a strong, healthy plant. But no, it's also about nourishing the plant so that it can nourish us. And I think that's really, I mean, no slight against supplemental vitamins. We all do our degree of those too because of the world we live in today. However, if we can grow a tomato where we put our food, our supplements actually in the soil first, grew up the tomato, ate the tomato, you don't have to worry about, are we eating the right kind?
Right.
So it's going to be absorbed. It's going to be so delicious and nutritious for you. And it's perfect timing too with the spring here for everybody to just grow a few things. Oh my gosh, squash are so easy to grow, right? Maybe not so much tomatoes, but you can put a squash seed in the ground, and it's going to grow if you keep it watered. And there really is not much better in life, I think, than it's rewarding too. It's so rewarding than just to eat your own
No, I love it.
Eat your own food.
It is. And just the gardening in general, we enjoy it. I haven't been super productive over the last 3 years, but I just enjoy being out there.
We can also, there are lots of opportunities with our markets here. And there are some people growing local vegetables if you don't feel confident or you just don't have time or you can't be bothered. Support your local farmers because there's that to be had out there. And I got one more point to you also. When we're talking about nutrition in our food, like, okay, we'll just stay on the tomato thing. If I have a conventionally grown tomato, well, it could be, actually they're genetically modifying tomatoes now. So it could be a GMO tomato. It has pesticides on it and blah, 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 right? Meh. It's a tomato and it does have, it's going to be better for you than a Dorito. However, step up from that would be a tomato that doesn't have pesticide, that is non-GMO. But guess what, too? Organic food is more nutritionally dense, just by the way that it requires to be grown.
Yeah, well, pests target weaker plants.
Right. So when you're able to choose organic food, I mean, do it. Everybody can't afford it. It's not always available. It's not always available as an option, but where you can and where you decide that is a step you're willing to take for certain kinds of items, you're going to be avoiding pesticides and you're going to be getting more nutrition, bang for your buck, as you say. So, I mean, even if you look at the two products and you compare the price and you're like, what am I actually getting here? You're investing. You're investing in your health.
Well, a lot of it is our health. And I think the big thing is because people have different opinions and they, and I don't have any problem with this where a lot of people will say, well, these people are extreme on this side and these people are extreme on this side. And I try to be in the middle. That's fine. What I would just say is especially for that crowd, and people come at it different ways. All I'm saying is that these things are worth considering. We're talking about our health. So why not be educated? I just wouldn't take for granted that, I can just go grab this off the shelf and it says on the bag that it's low fat and it's good for me, so it's good to go. Like that may not be the case. So just being educated, I don't think you're ever going to go wrong with a good old-fashioned education.
I'm so glad you're talking about that because I would really like for people to come and pick up this pamphlet. What I discovered, have you read this pamphlet?
I have not.
I'm going to leave this one with you and
Good.
You're going to read it.
Thank you. I will.
So I'm excited about this because I think when we first started back in 2011, I assumed, well, when I became a crazy person and started doing all the things myself, I tried to eat something from the categories here that all came from the best, right? So what I've got outlined here for you is we've got our different food categories, and then I've got examples for you that are bad, better, good, and best. And I think that we would like to say, I'm going to eat real food. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm making a choice for that. And so you're going to want to check all the boxes down here. But it's so hard, and we can become so easily discouraged. And I just wanted to provide a way for people to have a path to where they were from to where you're going, which is why it's just to move forward and make a choice. And so I say, honest to goodness, if under the fruits and vegetables category, for instance, if we take that as an example, if you're actually not eating any fruits and vegetables, then just pick up a banana. I don't care that it's not organic. Just pick up something, add some canned green beans to your diet. It's fine. It'll be better than nothing.
Yeah.
But there's a step up from that, and there's a step up from that. And that's a good place for me to just quickly mention, too, if you're not familiar with the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, those are published. You can look those up on the internet, and they're published yearly. And they actually outline the most contaminated foods for that year. And so if you're going to get the best bang for your buck, so to say, you're going to want to make organic choices on the Dirty Dozen. So one year, apples was on the top of the list for Dirty Dozen. So why don't you just say to yourself, I'm going to buy all apple products organic, and then I'm just not going to worry about the rest. Or you might, look over the list and say to yourself, we eat a lot of this, but we don't eat a lot of that. And so I'm going to make an organic choice there. And it's been shown that if you'll just follow the Dirty Dozen and you'll actually buy an organic option for the 12 most contaminated fruits and vegetables, you can reduce your exposure to pesticides in produce by 80%. And that's just by following that. So, look over that, make your value judgments, stick with that, and just call the rest good. Fill your grocery buggy with whatever else, and know that you're making a choice that is moving you forward. And you can't do it all. You can't do it all at once, but you can do something and you can make a choice. And anything is better than nothing, right?
Absolutely. You got to start somewhere. Now, some people get so overwhelmed, like, I got to radically overhaul my life. And it's like, no, you don't. I mean, just to the point you made, just start.
You don't. In fact, what I tell you
somewhere.
In the pamphlet is, and it's got a little place where you can check mark where you are and what you're doing, and just move forward one step.
Is that resource available online where somebody can find it?
No, you got to come get it.
Got to come get it from the store. All right, fair enough. I'm glad I got one right here today, though, so I did good. Didn't even know I was getting it. Let me ask you a question. Did you put this together?
Yes.
That's
and
good.
if you look at the back of our store, we have the giant one of those.
Okay.
It's over there by the freezers.
So this is helpful. Now, I do think that a lot of it is people not being educated to stuff. And I mean, to be fair, it's not, we're busy. I mean, I've got a large family. People are we have a lot on our plate, no pun intended, as humans, and particularly in America. We're trying to accomplish a lot of things in a short period of time in our lives. And a lot of this stuff, people they literally took they ate whatever was given to them, literally, and never thought about a lot of these things.
I think that if I could just jump in right there, that is where we as SC Real Foods appreciate the opportunity to serve our community, because we have something better for you. You will find, you'll find our Oreo product, which is Numinos. They're put out by Paul Newman. They're organic. They don't contain any hydrogenated fat. And I promise you, they are so much better tasting than an Oreo cookie, right? So I would say come get a package of Numinos instead of eating Oreos. But
just call them Oreos.
And I
put them in an Oreos pack.
I want to sell you that because I'm in business, right? But I want to put that in your hand because number one, I want to keep the hydrogenated fat product out of your hands. But beyond that, our heart is for you to go home and make your own cookies.
Yeah.
You know, we're not here to just put a product in your hand. We're here and we exist to encourage I want to give you a convenient option. I want to give you something that's on your path. At the same time, ultimately, I would like to see you buy some single ingredients, like some butter and some organic unbleached flour, and go and make some chocolate chip cookies. They're so delicious, and it does take time, and I understand. And you might have to eat some Numinos. That's okay. Numinos are better than Oreos, and I think that that's the whole point of the pamphlet is the food continuum of bad, good, better, and best. We can't be staying in the bad category. You can't sustain yourself there. But you also can't do the best category. And so life is just it's a conglomeration of all of our value judgments in all the categories and all of the options. Everybody doesn't have the same options. Everybody doesn't have the same budget. Everybody doesn't have the same time constraints. And so we make the best choices that we can based on where we are and literally pray over your food, because when we bless our food, that's not just like a rote thing. Ask the Lord to bless your food, because if you have been faithful to make good choices with the resources He's given you, He's going to bless your food. And that's a real thing.
Yeah, I think the way that I look at it, the way that I look at it is just being trying to be a good steward with, just like you said, the resources that we've been given. So whether that's intellectual resources, wisdom, knowledge, whether that's financial resources, like you said, everybody doesn't have the budget. The organic, I was going to mention this, organic bananas actually aren't much more expensive. They're not that bad, but some products, I mean, the organic version is more expensive. Me and Alan Cook talked about on that episode number 8, the sour cream at Harris Teeter from the Organic Valley sour cream is way better than the one in the red container, whatever it is.
Yes.
But it's $2 more.
You know what though? Can I just add to that?
Yeah, sure.
The organic is, because this is a good mediary right here. If you can't afford the organic, turn it over. Look at the ingredients, because a good intermediary brand is Daisy. It contains just two or three ingredients.
Yeah,
they
that's
haven't
the blue.
put the garbage. Yeah. And so there's always an option, but there are actually garbage brands that have carrageenan in them, and they have gel and gums and some other bits of stuff that we don't want to eat. So just turn the label over, and it only takes a moment, and then once you learn, then you know, and you don't always have to buy the best, but the Organic Valley is delicious.
It's just making decisions. The more you understand the stuff, you get familiar with terms, then you can.
It does perform.
Oh, it's ridiculous. I told Alan, it's true. Like, if I'm making mashed potatoes or whatever, I'll dump everything in there, and then that last spoon before I rinse the spoon off and put it in the dishwasher, I just get a spoon for myself. You can eat it right out of the can, or the container.
Really,
I would say it's that good personally. I want to shift over.
Yeah.
A little SC Real Foods in relation to all of this. Can we do that?
Yes.
So one thing that I understand, and I think a lot of people would, is that, we're talking about all of these things, and there's a cost element into it, and there's a convenience element. There's a lot of things that have to be considered. There's a shelf life element. There's a preservative element.
Yeah.
And if it's difficult for the average American in their home, it's a treacherous landscape to navigate. And that's why a lot of people haven't even endeavored into any of it, because I don't have the time. So, but for a restaurant, it would have to be that much more so. You're going to have to be very thoughtful and very intentional and strategic. So my question is, what things at SC Real Foods have y'all learned to do and are practicing in relation to everything that we're talking about? What do you prioritize in terms of the product? So say, for example, seed oils.
Yep.
And you've got potatoes. So the Peckaway Cafe is an entirely full functioning restaurant.
Yeah.
It's a great restaurant. We've covered it at length on the YouTube channel, so that's no secret. But how do you deal with all of this stuff?
I appreciate the question. We have built up a reputation over the last 14 years to vet ingredients on behalf of our customers. And a lot of times I will throw out a question and I'll ask, if you're on our email list, you'll sometimes get questions from me. Hey, what do you want? Do you want this or do you want that? And that I consider that to be my people, right? And I cater to them. So if you want to be catered to, get on
the email list.
Yeah, because I read the emails that come back to me, and there's a dialogue there. So a number of years ago, I asked the question. We've got this wild caught salmon product that we've been bringing in, and you're not buying it. Like literally, when we moved to the wild caught salmon, sales just dropped, and but yet we've got this other salmon product that's not wild caught. It's farm raised, but it actually tastes better. It's more unctuous. It has more fat. It has more flavor. What do you want? What do you want? And so, you know what? They surprised me and they said, we actually just want the farm raised product. And so what I did was I went to our food vendors and I said, what's in the landscape of farm raised salmon? And we were actually able to find one that was in a mediary price range that is, although it's farm raised, it is fed non-GMO food and the pellets that the fish eat. And it's also raised in the waters over there by Denmark in the Faroe Islands. So it's getting very cold, fresh, clean water. It's their ocean farms. The fish is delicious. The customers appreciate it, and we sell a lot of that product. We sell it frozen in the case that you can prepare for yourself at home. But we also sell that in our little salmon packs that everybody enjoys. That's already prepared. So that's a good example of how participation with the community and what people want. I mean, honestly, that wild-caught salmon was not good. It was dry. It didn't have any flavor. It didn't have any fat in it. And so, I mean, I think the people made a good choice there. If I could tell you another quick story to answer your question, too. Just last week, we had a food vendor come in because I've been doing some research I've been asking myself the question, can we fry in tallow? Because that's a movement now to get away from seed oil.
That's the big question. Yeah.
Right, and move toward tallow. And so I've been doing research over the last several months on my own. How does that play out in a commercial setting? Is that sustainable? Is it cost effective? And very graciously, one of our food vendors brought in a specialist, and we literally were in the office. They brought in a big thing of beef tallow, and we fried some foods. We tried it. We tested it. And they were very transparent about what the product was. It had some ingredients in the beef tallow that stabilized it, cleaned it, kept it from foaming, and while I greatly appreciated the effort, I then became, this is me bearing this on behalf of our community, right? I had to ask myself and do my research about these chemicals that were in the tallow.
Yeah.
And so I didn't like that. And then I had to ask myself, what's better, the seed oil that we're frying in now or the tallow that has these chemicals in it? And that's a burden to bear, really. And, ultimately what I decided was to stay with the sunflower oil, and that we did not care for the chemicals that were in the beef tallow. We're going to stay with the sunflower oil because I didn't even know this, but the sunflower oil that we're currently using is the very best, the high oleic one that contains the best ratio of omega-6 versus omega-3 fatty acids, which is, as seed oils go, there's a hierarchy also. It is at the top of the hierarchy for frying with seed oils. And so on behalf of our customers, I just said, we're going to hold. We're not going with the beef tallow for now. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely an expense factor to it, and so there's a cost measure. And businesses can do whatever they want to do. Really, you're at liberty to, within regulations, do whatever you want. But
I
those
think,
costs get passed down to consumers.
Would love for us to serve all organic food. And when they come to me and they say, "Is this organic? Can we have this organic?" I said, I will sell you, and we will make whatever you want to make. But do you want to pay for it?
Yeah. I saw something from a guy. This was just a reel. It was on Instagram. It was shared with me last week, and it was a guy up in North Carolina. He was a food distributor, I believe, if I remember correctly. And he said that the standard or the regulation for labeling a beef product as grass-fed was that it had to be on the grounds and grass-fed for like 6 months or something like that, and they could do it.
Okay.
And so then he said that, so it's, some places that he was working with that were selling at retail, these beef products were labeling them as grass-fed, but they were actually buying them from like China or something like that, shipping these in and then putting them on their land for 6 months and then calling it that. And the only reason that I bring that up is to say that this is not an easy subject to deal with. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of ins and outs. There's a lot of things to consider. And if it's something that you're going to endeavor to take on and that you're interested in, then you just have to understand that. And I would just say, I'm saying that to say that let yourself know that on the front end so you don't get overwhelmed. Like, you just got to eat a cow one bite at a time, pun intended.
Well,
you just take your time and make your way through and start to learn things, and then you make educated decisions from there.
That is where SC Real Foods likes to step in, because sure, you can go find all the information for yourself and do the deep dive and do all the things, but we've already done that, right? And so come ask. Eat our products. You can ask us, is this homemade? What did you make this? We love to talk about that. But we've already done the hard work on the front end for our customers, and we've built a reputation on being ingredient transparent. And to be honest, I wish nothing that we served had mayonnaise in it, because it's even the best mayonnaise that you can buy still has its base in a seed oil, which we're trying to get rid of right now. But it can't help you there.
There's not olive oil based mayonnaise?
There is olive oil based mayonnaise, but it is cost prohibitive to use in a restaurant situation.
Gotcha. Yeah.
We can make our own mayonnaise with olive oil or avocado oil. Delicious, but you just can't even imagine the gallons of mayonnaise that we go through.
Oh, I can, because I like mayonnaise.
It's just not available. But let me tell you this, though. On an individual basis, as I'm trying to lower my intake of seed oils, I have started making my own mayonnaise at home. I've started making my own dressing. Well, I've always made my own dressing, but I've started making my own salad dressings from my own mayonnaise. If I'm eating a bottle dressing, or if I'm eating out, I will choose to eat less dressing overall. 50% of quantity of like if you're used to putting 4 ounces of dressing on your salad, guess what? When you put 2 ounces instead of 4, you've just cut your seed oil intake by 50%, right?
Yeah.
Easy math there. If you need a wetter salad, you just use an olive oil vinaigrette for half of it, and then put your ranch on that has the seed oil in it for the other half. There are lots of ways that as individuals we can alter our own habits, right, for our own selves. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. It's just, I think the takeaway from this conversation should be, it's just a series of making choices, but it's nice to be able to make educated choices. And then at that point, you make whatever decision you want. But I would at least like to know what decision I'm making and why. I still might make the wrong decision.
I appreciate that.
There's a good chance I'm going to make the wrong decision anyways, but at least I know that I'm making it.
I don't think we think about those things often or deeply enough. We just try to like calm the hunger and keep moving.
Right. And I think we're just we're in the age of information. So it's just the way that it is at this point. And so we should take advantage of that. Is no reason to not be educated at this point in time with all the resources that we have on things. And a lot of people are taking it serious. There's a lot of people connected to my life from every different angle that I get to have conversations with that just like me, just had a moment in time where they started getting exposed to things and it kind of opened up their thinking. I don't think many people, unless they're raised in a household like this, are trained to think this way. But for me, I watched Food Inc. I recommend you watch it. I got exposed to some doctors that were out of the allopathic vein of medicine and, got exposed to some different frameworks of health and wellness, and just it kind of started from there. What I would say is what was it? The 12 bad, the 12 nasty, the dirty dozen,
and the clean 15.
The clean 15 is,
and bananas, by the way, is in the clean 15. So you're good.
Oh, well, there you go.
Just eat a banana.
So I'm gonna I'll try to find the link to that resource and put it down in the description of this episode.
EWG.
And do you have any internet resources that I could put anything that you have that I could put down in the description that listeners could go look at?
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly think about that and get that to you.
All right. Well, whatever that ends up being, I'll have that down in the description of this episode also. All right. Well, that's great. This is 2 episodes in a row that we've gotten, and we dove a little bit even deeper into the rabbit hole on this one in the health and wellness conversation, nutrition, the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry. And
the
again,
man.
But I mean, everybody has a role, and people are everything's so polarizing. Please, at least for me, don't hear something that I'm not saying. Our medical system, our allopathic physicians, they have a role. They can do great things that can save your life, that can preserve your quality of life. With the technology and the training and the education over decades.
Pay it on the front end, not the back end with your health.
Right. Correct. But what they say, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure? Or did I say that backwards? A pound of prevention's worth an ounce of cure? I forgot.
That thing.
You'd rather prevent something than have to cure it.
Don't wait for the crisis.
Correct. So just, again, series of educated decisions. Everybody has a role. There's some great people in every industry in America. Fact. But with that said, shifting over, so I'm going to ask you the question we ask every guest this on the Florence Foodies podcast. What is Valerie Criswell's favorite thing to eat in Florence, food item, that does not come from your own kitchen or from your own restaurant? Does it come from Peckaway Cafe? What do you like?
It is exhausting making food all the time, and I do appreciate being able to go out and eat. I don't know that I have a favorite food item, but since you are pressing on me, I will say, first of all, I appreciate all of the talent in Florence. I appreciate, personally, me and my family, we appreciate the real food that's going out, and I think it is growing. I appreciate the effort that you're putting in to encourage that and expose, let people know, educate people about where they can go to get real food. And, we're all in this together to serve our community. That being said, my favorite restaurant is Stefanos.
Nice. A Florence classic.
Yes.
Okay. Well, they've been around as long as I can remember.
Right. So I might eat pasta there. I might eat pizza there. I might eat a salad. But I appreciate Anna and her team. And they're doing a great job. They've been around a long time. And the portions are great. The food is consistent, which, is a big thing. When you're a restaurant, you want to be consistent. So I know that when I go there, I can always count on what I got last time. It's going to look the same. And it's delicious.
Awesome.
Delicious.
Good answer. Would be a lot of people's answer in Florence, I think, over the years.
So we just appreciate our community. We appreciate the opportunity to serve everyone good, wholesome, real food. We appreciate your feedback. Get on the email list. Come see us. Ask us the questions. We want to be ingredient transparent. And most of all, we exist because of the community. So I thank you.
Yep, and that's really at the heartbeat of everything we do here. That community aspect it all works together holistically. And so the more that we can make it more tight-knit, the better for everybody. So if you haven't been to SC Real Foods, and by the way, we didn't even talk about it. I'd planned to mention this, but we just didn't get to it. But they have an entire shop, basically a grocery store also. So they've got prepared meals that you could just go get already prepped meals that you can just heat up and eat. Very convenient. She mentioned the salmon. And then also they have the Peckaway Cafe, which is a full-service restaurant. They serve breakfast and lunch.
Monday through Friday, lunch only.
Monday through Friday, lunch only.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, the breakfast is Monday through Friday, 8 to 11, and lunch is 11 to 3. We are not open on the weekend, and we're not open in the evening. We serve our community lunch, basically. Yeah.
And breakfast.
Yes.
So breakfast and lunch Monday through Friday. That service stops at 3 o'clock.
That's correct.
And they do have the prepared meals. They've also got coffee. They've got a whole smoothie menu and section. It's all made right there in-house. And then also the grocery store. So there's a lot of different products that you're actually pretty much not going to find anywhere else.
I like to think of us as the convenience store.
Yeah.
It's a convenience store.
There's a lot of stuff that y'all have that you're not going to find anywhere else in Florence.
We try to keep it fresh. Yeah. Fresh items all the time.
So if you have not been, go check them out. They're at the corner of Celebration and Palmetto. So that corner at that light on the opposite side, the opposite corner where the Bojangles is at. Mm-hmm. If you've never been, go check them out. If you're on the south side, you never come to the west side. We are increasingly growing in areas and locations that you can't get on the south side. So you got to come over to our side and see us. So come over and check them out. I just want to thank you again for coming and being, this is episode number 10.
I appreciate the opportunity just to communicate my heart and encourage people. Hopefully the community has been encouraged.
Yeah, no, it was great. And obviously, I mean, this is stuff that is important in our household also and has been for a long time. So I always love that conversation. Right. I can do that for hours, but we're not going to hold you that long today, and I won't hold you any longer. I know you've got some places to go. So again, I appreciate you coming and being on it.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate y'all as always, and God willing, we'll see you on the next one.